When it comes to the sensations of fear and adrenaline, I haven't felt either of those feelings on a roller coaster in a long time. I'm numb to it all, no roller coaster phases me anymore. I've tried microdosing and other avenues of fear like horror movies in an attempt to bring up my heart rate, but just like roller coasters before, I've just turned stone-faced. No horror movie can even get me to flinch anymore. Curse you, CZ's World and Dead Meat. Your content conquered my fear of jump scares. However, despite my very real no-fear attitude, there is indeed a few ways to get a reaction out of me. For one, riding Cat in the Hat, that's always a bone-chilling experience, and two, going to an amusement park scare event. Sure, turning on a scary movie may be a great way for most people to piss their pants, but I enjoy the realism of it all, which sounds more terrifying, watching a video of somebody getting doused in cockroaches, or actually experiencing it. And if there's one scare event I can always appreciate on delivering a good time, it is Halloween Horror Nights, the premier Fright Fest event that is better than the actual Fright Fest. Halloween Horror Nights is such a popular event that Universal couldn't just contain it for 1 month. No, October isn't enough. Halloween Horror Nights spans from late August to early November, which makes Horror Nights an almost 2-month-long scare event that is crowded almost every night. Horror Nights does wonders for Universal, and because of this, they constantly have to expand and grow the event every single year, whether it's adding additional capacity to the haunted houses, upgrading the scare zones, or extending the event altogether by having Horror Nights start in the middle of August. This is all in an effort to feed the beast that is the Universal clientele who flood the park every single night. As much as I like to see Halloween Horror Nights thrive and succeed every single year, I can't help but feel that one day this event is going to swallow Universal whole. Horror Nights today, it's just too big of an event, and the seasonality of it all just makes it a whole lot worse. Truthfully, I believe that Halloween Horror Nights is somewhat ruining Universal Studios, and Universal should probably make it a top priority to downsize the event or become more efficient at managing it. Because if Halloween Horror Nights continues on its trajectory of exponential growth, the event will inevitably stifle the creative potential of Universal Studios as a whole indefinitely. Sure, this may be a strange and out of left field claim, but rest assured there is some validity to what I'm saying. Because Halloween Horror Nights is crippling the Studios park, and if Universal doesn't make some modifications to the event, Studios will continue to spiral, and will never reach the same stature as some of Universal's other properties. Most of my common viewers are already aware that I am not a fan of the Studios park at Universal. It is by far the worst theme park that Universal has to offer. The park, it's not too appealing, and the rides, they're hit or miss. A few of them are elite, but the majority of them are duds. Boring, TV-watching duds. Sometimes I can forgive a park if they have a few misses in the attraction lineup, but I can't forgive a theme park for being unabashedly ugly. I would describe Universal kind of like a moldy sandwich. In the middle, you have your tasty essentials with attractions like Diagon Alley, Simpsons Land, E.T., The Mummy, experiences that make up the core of the sandwich. But the bread holding it all together is laced with inedible elements. Figuratively and literally, the ends of Universal, the front and back of the park, have little to nothing to offer. At the rear of the park, sure, you may have Men in Black, a well-themed but lackluster shooting ride, but other than this, there's nothing else to do at the back of Studios, unless you want to gawk and gaze at an abandoned theater that used to house Fear Factor 5 years ago. And then on the other end of Universal, towards the entrance, you have loads of mediocre dark rides and simulators that I skip repeatedly every single visit. And you know what? I could excuse these mediocre rides and say that, you know what, they're not for me. I may not enjoy simulators, but clearly other people do, since attractions like Transformers and Despicable Me seem to always get a line. However, I can't excuse Universal for constructing these attractions in ugly-ass gravity buildings. These sound stages are the bane of my existence. It doesn't matter how many times Universal paints over them or props them up with a few posters along the side, they all look terrible. They're ugly and they ruin the New York section of the park. I want rides like Jimmy Fallon, Despicable Me, Minion Blast, and Transformers gone, just so Universal can level the land and construct something better on top of it. Sadly, I am aware though that this take, it is not realistic. A mass exodus of 4 attractions at once is a drastic approach. But Universal, they just have to get rid of these sound stages eventually. They're just from a different time when Universal was trying to become a movie backlot in Orlando. Back then, these buildings made sense, but now they're just a relic from a different time that are constantly changing and trying to adapt, yet failing at every single attempt. And it's not just the sound stages that the attractions are housed in, no. There is a whole corridor of unused sound stages right along the strip between islands and studios. All these buildings remain mostly vacant for the majority of the year, except for when Halloween Horror Nights comes around. This is when these gravity buildings serve a purpose. They are meant to house and facilitate the operations for the haunted houses, which is all fine and dandy if it wasn't for the fact that Halloween Horror Nights is a seasonal event. Horror Nights only lasts about 2.5 months out of the calendar year, so for the majority of the year, these buildings, they are left vacant. They serve no purpose unless Universal can rent them out to a third party every now and again. I'm sorry, but I do not see the big picture here. Why keep all the space if it's only going to be used for a select period of the year? Imagine the opportunity if Universal removed this corridor of warehouses and adapted the space into a land, or 2 lands. Because this space isn't small, we're talking about 6.3 acres here. If we encompass all of the buildings within this strip. The old Nickelodeon studio, the Blue Man Group Theater, and the Dave School of Digital Animation. Why is there a digital art studio located between 2 Universal parks? I have no idea, but does it need to be here? Oh, absolutely not. Universal, they're strapped for space, and a digital art school can be located anywhere. Go find a cheap office building in downtown Orlando. That can serve the exact same purpose. All of this land could be up for grabs, but Universal, they choose not to use it. Why? Well, again, it's Halloween Horror Nights. The event is just too popular. Universal needs the extra infrastructure to build all these haunted houses. In fact, going forward, they probably need more haunted houses because the lines at Halloween Horror Nights are just too insane. I mean, come on. An average wait time of 3 hours for a Five Nights at Freddy's maze? I don't value anything at a 3-hour wait time. That's almost a third of my night gone just waiting for FNAF. I'm afraid that if Universal, they keep growing the event, eventually they're gonna have to sacrifice more space and more infrastructure so they can keep operating Halloween Horror Nights. If we take another look at the abandoned Fear Factor Stadium at the back of Universal, have you ever wondered why this building hasn't gotten removed yet to make room for something else, preferably something that isn't abandoned? Well, one of the biggest contributors to why I think Universal hasn't gotten rid of this theater yet is because of the yearly Halloween Horror Nights show they put on display over here. The theater is existing infrastructure. It can be used as added capacity for Horror Nights. So there's no urgency to remove the Fear Factor Stadium and adapt the land for a new attraction. Same with the Blue Man Group Theater. Why get rid of it when you can use it for event space? Either for a Horror Nights haunted house or a Christmas show. This is a major problem. I don't want Universal to keep abandoned infrastructure so they can reallocate it for Horror Nights. It doesn't provide any long-term incentives. Because yes, these theaters, they may be alive and well for a few months out of the year, but for the majority of the year, they're left abandoned. And the act is nothing more than an eyesore. So Universal, here is what you need to do. You need to downsize the studio corridor, preferably by dismantling the Blue Man Group Theater and the Dave School of Digital Animation. Still don't know why that's there. And only keep these warehouses. These can be your event spaces for Horror Nights. And the only reason why I'm saying keep these ones in particular is because you're already boxing them in with the quote-unquote Ghostbusters coaster, so it's likely that you'll never be able to access this land anyway. The point is, keep these buildings, demolish the other ones, and do not reallocate them. If you want to build more haunted houses, then find space somewhere else. Same goes with the Fear Factor Stadium. Tear down the building, find somewhere else to put the show. If you can't find a different space for the show, then think of a different attraction for the public. The land back here is too valuable, and I hate how the park just dead ends at an abandoned building. All in all, I do appreciate how much effort Universal puts into Halloween Horror Nights every year. The houses, they're creative and always well put together. Some may say they're too IP based, but it personally doesn't bother me. Actually, those are the houses I would likely go to first. Sorry, I'm a sucker for classic slasher characters. I would much rather walk through Terrifier than whatever this house is. Universal, once again, just please fix this park. Get rid of the abandoned infrastructure. Bring this place up to a higher standard, and don't just rely on Horror Nights to boost this park's attendance. Temporary events are never the long-term solution, especially seasonal ones with a lot of overhead. What, you thought these scare actors and custom haunted houses were cheap? No, R&D alone cuts into most of Universal's margins. But I digress. Although something I would like to see Universal do sometime in the future is develop a permanent Halloween Horror Nights location at studios. Something akin to Darkmoor Epic Universe, but over here. That would be really cool. But anyway, that's the end of the video. Jump scare.